Okay, here we go. We are taking a look at I'm right in the middle of a video, dude. No poop. I'm recording right now.
Oh, sorry. Wait.
30 seconds in. Now I gotta start over.
Sorry.
Okay, here we go. Taking a look at the V-guide drawing. First thing I did is I opened up just a simple 8.5 by 11 template. Looking at the directions say to me here, draws an orthographic projection, a 3-view drawing, dimension completely, and follow the rules of dimension. Draw at quarter scale. Draw at quarter scale. That's important, because I know that my drawing right now is at full scale, so I need to make this at quarter scale. So in order to do that, I've got to take a look at my limit sheet. And I know that I'm looking at a 1/4 inch equals an inch, which means my paper size is going to be 44 by 34. My dim scale of 4 and my LT scale of 1. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to set our limits. And our limits are lower left hand corner 0, 0. The upper right hand corner should be 44, 34. Our LT scale, our line type scale for a quarter scale should be set at 1. And our dim scale should be set at 4. So I'm looking out, and here is my paper space. Obviously my title block is too small, so I'm going to scale the title block from 0, 0. And the dim scale is 4, but that's also the amount of times I need to scale it up. So I'm going to say I'm going to scale it up 4 times, and it now fits inside my title block. The difference is now my title block is 4 times bigger than it once was. I'm going to turn my grid off. Taking a look at the V-guide. Here's our V-guide. So I've got to start looking at overalls. Remember, I'm going to start by drawing a box. So I'm just going to do some quick math here. Going 5 plus 10 is 15, plus another 5 is 20. There's an extra 1 there. 21 and a half. 21 3/4 is how long it is. And then I'm going to go 3, 6, 9. It's 9 inches tall. So I'm going to go 21 3/4 by 9. So 9 inches tall. 15, 21 a half plus 3/4, 3/4. 21 3/4. So let's start by drawing a line. And I'm going to make my line 21.75, and I know that the height is 9. I'm just going to finish by drawing my box. There's my front view. I'm going to move this over just a little bit, give myself some room. I'm going to look at the front view here. I'm sorry, the right side view. And I can see in the right side view that I've got 5 plus 7/8. Well, that 7/8 is that distance from where the edge would be back to here. And I know that the other side, because it doesn't tell me it's not flat, is going to be the same. So whatever I see on one side, I see the other. So I know 7/8 plus 7/8. So that's 7/4, right? Because I just double or divide the bottom number in half, so 7/4. So obviously there can't be 7/4, so that is 7 minus 4 is 3. So that's going to be 1 3/4. So 5 plus 1 3/4 will be 6 3/4 across the front. So I am just going to copy these 2 lines across, and I'm going to say that I don't trust my math. So I am going to offset, and I know that first offset was 7/8, so offset 7/8. The second one was 5, and the last one was 7/8 again. And that is what my drawing would look like in the right side view. I'll fillet this out. So there is my box in the right side view. I'm going to leave these lines here. They don't actually go there. Well, they do, but they're not all the way up. I'm going to draw in my miter line. Turn off my ortho. I'm going to tab over to 45. Hit enter. So now I know I have my miter line. I'm going to project up and I'm only drawing the box. So I'm going to draw this line over. Remember, that's my projection. And I'm starting with just the overall. I don't care about any details yet or any features, just the overalls. So I'm copying those two lines up, and then I'm going to use my fillet command. So I know that everything that I draw is now going to fit inside these three boxes. So let's go ahead and take a look at the front here again. And I'm going to start by just going across the front. So I'm going to go across and make this a little bit bigger here. I'm going to go across so I have the 5, so I have this surface. 10 1/4, so I have this surface, which is going to leave this surface over here left. You know what? I'm also going to do a little trick here so I can copy this into my, oops, bring that back up. And I'm going to go to my snipping tool. And I want to do a window. Come on, work with me. There we go. Why won't you work? There we go. Oh, I know what it's doing. It's being goofy. Go to the snipping tool again. Let's go to a new rectangular snip. There we go. That's what I needed. Move that out the way. Go back into my drawing. Right click. Go to my clipboard, copy with a base point. Oops, I don't want to do that. I wanted to paste. And let's paste. There we go. Now I'm going to make this smaller, scale it. I'm going to go 0.25 because I want to make it 1/4 the size. Because I can kind of zoom in and out and move that thing around as I need to. Move that over here a little bit. There we go. So I know this first dimension is 5, so I'm going to offset that by 5. The second one was 10 1/4, so I'm going to offset that 10.25, 10 1/4. And now I have this little surface here, I have this surface, and this surface here resides here. Now I'm going to go use some information, and I see that, oops, the height of this guy right here is 3 5/8. So I'm going to go 3 5/8. So I know it's 3 5/8 from the bottom up and 3 5/8 from the top down. So I'm going to go back over here to the front view, and I'm going to offset 3 5/8 up, I'll set that down. I know that this line right here is going to be from this end to this end. So let's draw that line in from there to the intersection of that. There's that edge. So I'm going to delete that line right there. And I'm going to fillet some lines. Fillet that and fillet that. And I know that that edge is now that surface. Now I'm going to continue to draw the front edge. I know that it's 2.5 inches from this corner over and 2.5 inches from that corner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to offset 2.25, 2.25 here, 2.25 here. Now I'm going to use a rotate command. I'm going to do something a little bit different. I could draw a line and use my, I could do it this way. So I'm going to show you two ways. I could do it this way. Tab over and then say that's got to be 135 to be a 45-degree line. So that would be one way of doing it. Or because I already have a line there, I'm just going to rotate this line from the end point. I'm going to say 45 degrees. Dang, wrong way. So what I do? Negative 45. So rotate that line minus 45. There it is. I'll rotate this line 45 degrees because it's going to rotate to the right. Look, the little rotation arrow shows me which way it's going to go. 45, there it is. Now I can fillet that. I can trim out the top. There that surface is. Looking back at this notch right here, 3 equal spaces. So I'm just going to offset 3. There's 1. There's 2. We'll trim, trim this guy back to here. And then as I look at this other dimension here, it's 3 inches in. So I'm going to offset 3 inches again. And now I can fillet and trim. So now I have my front view almost complete. Not quite, almost. Okay, the other thing is I have this notch right here. So I'm going to look at this notch, and that notch is 2 3/4 back. So I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to offset 2.75, 2 3/4. But that line has to go all the way to the top, so I'm just going to extend it. And that line is a hidden line because I can't see it. There we go. So now I have all of the edges for the front view for as much as I can see. So now I'm just going to start projecting to the front view. Now let's work on this edge right here. And I know that I've got 7/8, and I've already got that 7/8. We did that when I didn't trust my dimensions and we were trying to get our widths. So I know that this little short piece here is 1 3/8. So let's offset 1, 1, oops, offset 1. If I use the minus, that's the same thing as saying and. 3 divided by 8, so there's 1 3/8. I'm going to offset that line and that line. These lines here represents this edge. And I'm going to project over from the front view. Trim these guys down. We'll fillet it. And I'm going to fillet again. Oops, we got to trim. Trim that line out. I see that rectangle right there. That rectangle right there. Now what I have to find out is this little mat. It looks like the old horseshoe. So that horseshoe shape is here. So again, I have to project from the front view. So I'm projecting this line over. This line that I just projected is this line right here. And I know that from that corner goes to that intersection there. And from that corner to that intersection there, get rid of this line that doesn't exist. And I'll trim. Now I still got to finish this off, and I'm going to find that information right here. So here's my line from the end. That's coming straight across. I know that these lines, I'm going to extend these up. I know that line comes up. And I can fillet that. So there's that front notch. Now I still have, from the front V, I have this V, so I'm going to go to a hidden line because that's going to be something I can't see. So I'm going to draw that line across. But I still have this edge over here too. So I'm going to have this line that's going to come over. I'm just drawing it way over, getting it way out of the way. That line there. So there's some hidden lines that are tough to see what they mean, but they are there. Now, this line and this line are not done yet. So I'm going to change the color on those. I'm just going to change the color to an orange, something so I know that I can remember. Because remember, this is only 3/4 of an inch, right? So let's go in the top view where this is going to be a little easier to see. And I can see that I've got to come a 1/2 inch and then 3 3/4. So let's offset a 1/2 inch, 0.5. That doesn't seem right. Was that a 1/2 inch? 1.5 inches. Offset 1.5. And then I'm going to offset that 3 3/4. 3.75. Now I know where these lines here are going to end. So I'm going to go back to my hidden. I'm going to stay there. So I know that that represents, these lines that I'm drawing right here represent these two lines. So where those two lines, let's trim this back. You know, I'm going to turn on my intersection because I think that's going to be helpful to me. And I'm going to draw a line coming straight down, coming straight down, and I'm going to trim. And I know that those orange lines that I made, they have to trim back to those same edges. So I'll turn these back to a bilayer line. So they now represent that back edge. So now I have my front view is complete. My right side is complete. Now I just have to finish my front view or my top view. And I don't need any dimensions to do that. All I need to do is continue to draw my line. So I have, make sure I'm on the right line type here. And I'm going to draw this line up, perpendicular. And I'm just going to copy this so it's a little easier. I know I've got a line that's going to be there. Line is going to be there. There. And I know there's going to be one down here. I also know there's going to be one right there. So those are all projected lines. So I'm going to extend that V up. And then I'm going to trim. So I'm going to trim back these two lines. So I'm going to trim using this cutting edge and trim that line and that line because they don't exist. And then I'm going to fillet these two because there's my width, right? Now I also have to trim out between those because those are on the same plane. And I'll trim these 3 lines. Actually, these 4. Because this line represents the bottom of the V. So this edge, this surface represents this side. This surface represents this side. This little T represents the top half. I do have some hidden lines that I have to draw. So I'm going to go switch to hidden. And I've got this little notch that I have to have drawn in there. Projecting it up. Trim that out. Don't need that line. So this represents this notch. The only thing left to do is this front edge. And I've got to do some more projection here. So I'm going to go a line from this corner. And I'm going up straight up on purpose. Because I want to project those lines back. I'm going to go back to my object line. And I know that I've got from this point to this point. From this point to this point. I'm going to fillet this. Because there's those edges. These lines don't exist. Those are something different. I'm going to fillet that edge. I'm going to delete these extensions. I don't need them any longer. And now I need, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy, this is the notch. I'm just going to copy it up. So I can draw that line from the intersections, draw those over. So now I can use my fillet command. Use my trim command. Get rid of these. So there is my 3 views of my drawing. Now I'm not going to go through the dimensioning portion. That's going to be up to you. One thing that I will say, I'm going to get rid of my miter line. I don't need that anymore. I'm going to get rid of that dimension right there. One thing that I can do now though is I can move my view, move it up. Move this one to the right, and I can move these both down, because remember I want to try and keep my dimensions between the views. And if you remember, our dimensioning rules were start from smallest to largest, and we'd like to dimension the way that we read from left to right, but we also talked about some datum surfaces. So in this case I think that we should dimension from left to right. And then because the bottom is flat, from the bottom coming up. Okay, we've got every feature must have a location, a size, and a depth. So where is it? How big is it? How deep is it? So I need to know how deep this is. So I might start with the dimension of where is it? I'm going to need to know. Remember, we're dimensioning from the bottom. I might want to know this. And I might want to know this. Now, as we're looking at that, my dimensions are not in a good spot here. And I moved mine out a little bit. I'm in 3 decimal places. Okay, my drawing is in fractions, so I've got to change that. So I'm going to go D for dim style. Go to modify. Modify tab jumped over to my other window here. So I'm going to go to my units and I'm going to go to fractional. Hit OK. Set current. Close. I'm going to have to go to annotate. My recycle. And now I have a better chance of being able to move these. See, this is giving me some problems. So as I'm looking at this going, that looks terrible. So instead of doing that, remember that we said that that baseline is always acceptable. So I'm going to move this guy. Then I may switch over here from continuous to baseline and say, okay, here's a good dimension. The problem with this is my dimension is touching the line, so I'm going to have to move my whole top, and so I'm moving that over a little bit so it's not a dimension. There we go. Okay, so now I know the location. Where is my, it's up 3, up 6, up depth, so I know the old thing. So when I come over here, here's going to be my dimension. So I'm going to have a dimension over here. What is this dimension? Oops, not smart dimension. Let's go with a linear dimension. I'm going to come down here with 1.5 inches. I can move this down here. And this one I could add a baseline to that one. And if I want to do my overall, which would be acceptable because everything's already there. Again, I'm going to need to move my whole drawing because I'm into my title block. I got to be careful because my ortho's not on. And I think I might have moved it improperly before, so I'm going to double check here. And I'm pretty sure that I'm off. So I'm going to move perpendicular to this edge. Yeah, so it's lined up, so there we're good. So you're going to continue through and dimension this so that every feature has a size, location, so where is it, how big is it, how deep does it go, and all of that information detailed. So I hope that helps, and I hope you got this far on your own, but if not, here's how we got there. All right, we'll talk to you guys soon.